When a kid is behaving, say, "Where's the mother? Where is your mom?" You know? If a husband is a jackass and whatever, they're like, "How can she stay with him?"
Yeah,
It's all on her.
there's so much
She doesn't
criticism.
wanna share it. There's so much criticism coming towards the woman, you know, how ca it's like talking about just getting dressed for church, people are gonna judge the woman and not the man. They're gonna be like, "Oh, he can't put his closet together," or whatever. I mean, it's just so much criticism, and so I think it keeps women from saying
They don't want more criticism. So
of their homes. When they
yes.
come in and see a messy home, they're like, "Well, she's not a good housekeeper."
Hey, Shannon, we're back.
Hi, Chico. Is that how we're gonna start this new season of Filter Option?
Being back.
We're back. Hi, Shannon. We're back.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get it cut out.
Yeah,
It's like
no, we didn't need to cut it out, but anyway. So
but right now
we're here.
We're here and we're present.
Yes. And it's 2 days after your 57th birthday.
Yes, which hopefully you can see, I don't think I look 57. Maybe I do.
You got some gray going on the side.
Got some gray.
I don't want to talk about how we look because I was just sharing with you that I feel like the times that we've set aside to record and kind of done things have been days when I've gone to my trainer or whatever, and I never wear my hair like in a ponytail. I don't have good ponytail hair or whatever, but I pull it back for training or whatever, and it's funny that we're, talking about women, and our last episode was about vulnerability and everything else, and I think we're going to kind of continue that today, but women are so judgy, and it's like, why can't I just get on this video and not worry about people saying, "Oh, she chose that to wear today," and then, "Oh, look at her hair. I have this new growth," if you can see me, but
I do. I can see that.
I've got all this new growth, and it's hard to contain, and so it's silly, but it's silly to worry about it. But anyway, I've been filming like a la natural, and it's kind of funny after.
Well, it's crazy about the weekend we have. We did our last episode on the vulnerability gap with women. Yes. And we had this great weekend. It's kind of my favorite weekend. It's usually my birthday weekend.
Yes.
But it's not as much about my birthday. It's about we mentioned it last time in the episode. It's the state fair. It's Texas OU. We talked about that. Our
huge rivalry, Texas OU.
Our boys have the same passion we do.
Yeah. And it's all about across the country nowadays. It's all about game day outfits, game day fits, and outfits of the day. And they do all the rush outfits and then the game day outfits and all the stuff. And so it was so hot on Saturday at the game, but yet I saw people miserably dressed for the heat. But for fashion's sake, they looked awesome. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
But how long are they going to stay in the
sun? Long, thick denim skirt with the cutest top and the best hat and boots and all the things. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" But
and it's 92 degrees outside. Yes.
So, it's a fun weekend, and it's good.
What we talked about the last episode with a bunch of different people. We went to some parties. We were at parties. I went to church yesterday, talked about it in front of men and women, the vulnerability gap. And at first, we had some cool conversations. At first, people were kind of questioning us. And then once we started to unpack what we believe is this big vulnerability gap between women, they started to get on board and add some things.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't go to church because we had guests staying here, including our son, but they were staying here for the weekend, and they hadn't left yet, and then we were having tables and chairs from a rental company from the party, picking up the tables and chairs, whatever, and so I wasn't dressed. And you know what? If I could go to church and not feel like I was gonna get any judgment at all from anyone, and we go to a really non-judgmental, lovely neighborhood church. There's really nothing wrong with the people. I'm not saying that they're judgy, or I'm not calling anybody specifically judgy, but society has set it up where
It's like
if I
programmed
had
in your
gone to
system.
church in my sweat with my hair thrown up after, you know, sweating in the backyard, taking things down, there would have either been internal shame
Or insecurity.
or insecurity. There for sure would have been internal shame and insecurity or whatever. And there likely may have been some judgment of like, wow, how is she's showing up however she wants. Come as you are.
But Shannon, I would really
And they
go.
might even judge my praise and worship at
Yes.
church, because they would be like, oh, she's not really showing a reverence for the house of God.
Yeah,
Because that's their
maybe, but
maybe.
I think so much of it is really this internal dialogue that's going on with all of us, men and women. But today we're going to continue on that, the vulnerability gap with women.
Yeah.
And I believe if you had shown up, there would have been this internal struggle. What are people thinking about me? And not that you're vain or anything like that. But if you had shown up in your shorts and
if I had been vulnerable and shown up, there may have been a sigh of relief.
Yes.
From other women.
Thank
thinking
you.
like, oh, if she's allowed to do that and she's getting away with it, I might do that next Sunday because it's been a busy morning and I just can't get everything together, but I just really want to go to church. So maybe I would give people some freedom.
Yes.
If we could just, but that's where the vulnerability gap is for women. We won't put ourselves out there because no one's ever going to say anything. It's all going to be in their own heads. They might be sitting in the pews thinking, oh God, I'm so glad she did that. Like, I'm so glad she showed up like that because it just, maybe I can do that again next time and whatever. But then they're going to sit there and think, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, so let's
But
talk
why can't
about.
we just talk about it? Why can't we just be like, why can't somebody walk up to me and say, just be honest? Like dudes are more honest, I think. And they would say, wow, you just heard it come casual today. A guy would say that to another guy.
And it's a way of saying, hey, I respect you.
Yeah.
For men, it's a way of saying I respect you. So I want to throw out some of the comments as we talked about this with, we talked about it with some women on Friday night, that have kids our age and stuff like that. And we went over to this house and why don't you paint that picture? We went over
They have
that
kids,
house.
our kids' age.
Yes. And what happened at that house? Because I think that's a good example of women and the real difference. What happened that night at the Schmerbacks?
Okay, so it's a bunch of college students, and they're all tied to their phones and their Instagram and all that stuff and Snapchat or whatever, and they all had dates to this party, pregame, Texas OU or whatever, and so they're all dressed up in their outfits for their dates. They're for each other. They're like,
but it's a casual night.
Yeah, it's a casual night, but it's high competition with girl. I mean, you get your Texas OU outfits for the weekend together early. I mean, you're buying them in August. You're seeing burnt orange, and you're like, yeah, that's Texas OU. Like
that will look good on me, kind of deal.
Yes,
and the guys, our son, it was all the seniors. So there was about 90 kids, 21 to 23-year-olds
and
in the
backyard. Since it's out of town, since they're all in college in Austin, but the game's in Dallas, you can only wear what you brought. You know what I mean? Like you don't have your closet to like all of a sudden change or think, this was a bad idea and whatever. And so there's just a lot of like insecurity going around and stuff like that. And so we're at the party, and one of our son's fraternity brothers is an ambassador, works for as an ambassador for Kendall Jenner's tequila brand 818 in Austin. So he's like the ambassador. So just a quick snippet. So 818 Tequila, Genius Marketing asked if they could wrap the advertising wrap their buses from Austin to Dallas for the game. And then they gave them cooler and all this stuff. And they only did it for the seniors because they're over
age.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever. And then they were filming it. They said, "Can we come film y'all leaving on the bus so that they have all this advertising, you know, marketing pictures and film and stuff?" Okay.
Yeah, all for social media.
So they did that. So 2 marketing gals from 818 dropped off tequila Friday night for the party because they had donated it, and so they just dropped it off and whatever, and so they were like, "Oh, thanks," and they were passing out orange hats and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so all of a sudden,
Like 45 minutes later, after all the
Yeah.
kids are there, there's this big commotion in our friend's kitchen slash living room,
yeah,
and everybody's yappering.
and the girls are all going nuts. The girls are like, "Oh my God,
have their
no
phone-
way," and they have their phones out, and they're like Snapchatting, and they're taking pictures, and it's the girls. And the guys are all kind of sitting around like, "Duh, duh, duh, duh."
And this person walked in, and I had no idea. I go, "What's the big stink?"
Most of the guys were even like, I don't know who that is. And they were like,
and the
"That's
girls,
Kendall Jenner."
and I go, and I said, "Who is that?"
Yes. And most of the guys were like, who's here? I mean, she's a model.
Yes.
She's beautiful. But she is famous, but she is most famous with the girls.
And all of a sudden, they're all nervous. Kendall's over on the dining room table pouring shots for all the kids, and they're afraid to talk to her. And what do I do?
Well, you said you just walked up and like tapped her on the shoulder and was like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And she was like,
And they
"Sure."
started
And they started
filming.
filming you, and the guys were all standing back, kind of like, and the girls were just like, I mean, they were all looking at me, going, oh my gosh, Miss West, I'm fangirling so bad. I mean, oh my God, it's Kendall Jenner. No way. I mean, they were like, their idol had walked in the room, and I mean, she's a smart businesswoman. She's a beautiful girl, but her and her family, as we know, I mean, they have put themselves out there. Keeping up with the Kardashians or whatever,
Yeah.
Kardashians, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know. It's like they have put themselves out there as like ambassadors of what is beautiful, what's the most beautiful, and even vulnerability, I guess, because they are like, yeah, we had plastic surgery, and yeah, we wear this shapewear, and yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know, but
the thing that we stopped and thought about more is, there's all these young 22, 23-year-olds, our son included. And yeah, they found her attractive, but they weren't, fanning over her. She was okay. She was kind of famous.
the boys,
The
Yeah.
boys were not enamored and blown away, and there wasn't this competition. She's an attractive young lady.
Well, I mean, I think these girls were feeling like, oh, great. Now is our date even going to be into us now that Kendall Jenner's come to the party?
Yeah. I mean, and so there's
It was like
all
this deflating, like,
that's the vulnerability gap is like all of a sudden. So we had talked earlier, with a couple women our age about, our podcast. We talked, with one of the guys as well. And there was a lot of good questions. I like this question that I was asked when I was sharing this, after church with some guys, and they go, "That's interesting." And I'm going to bring it up to you, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
all right.
Man, guys have accountability groups. guys have men's accountability groups where they're getting accountable, about it, whatever struggle they're having. It's not accountability in the sense of, you know, business, but hey, if they're struggling with their boss, if they're struggling in their personal life, if they're struggling personally, if they're struggling with pride, if they're struggling with
But they have to be
pornography,
honest about their struggles
yeah,
first of all.
that. But once you see it, what one of the guys said, he goes, "Man, I've been in a group, and if if you're in a group and one guy opens up and goes, 'Hey, I'm struggling with pornography,' all of a sudden 5 or 6 more guys will open up and share that too." It's like there
Yeah.
isn't that chain, there isn't this vulnerability gap right there.
Right.
And women might have some accountability groups when it comes to maybe working out or
So yeah, that's what I told you is that there is a vulnerability gap with women will start accountability groups, and we talked about this last time. They will start, sorry for the little delay. They will start all kinds of groups for different things. They will start even accountability groups for diets, or like, I want you to hold me accountable for eating too many calories or whatever, and or hold me accountable to working out or something like that. And then they'll start book clubs that I this is a personal example that hasn't come to fruition yet, but we'll see. I am in a new book club, and so we haven't had our first meeting, but we have our first book assignment, and I want desperately for this to be a vulnerable book club. I want to really, and by that I just mean I really want to discuss the book. I read you a snippet of the book we're reading. It's beautiful fiction, but it is beautiful. It could cause a lot of really great vulnerable discussion about how we handle grief and things like that, or whatever. And I am fearful that because of the vulnerability gap that I feel like women have, that this book club is going to be anything but vulnerable or accountability or book club. I bet there's a percentage of people in it that
So can I ask a
don't read
question?
and finish the book.
Can I ask you a
Yeah,
question? Since you are being vulnerable right now on the
yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
uh, and I hope the book club actually turns out the way you
Since it
desire.
hasn't happened yet, I feel like I can be vulnerable about it right now because I'm not calling out anybody
Yeah.
personally because nothing's happened yet. So
Yes,
I
and
don't
so
know.
when you wait, and I hope it actually turns out the way you
I do too.
desire. But if it doesn't, will there? Will you have fear to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I
Well,
signed
and
up for."
well, hang on. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
let me finish my thought a little bit. But so I think some may not even read the book, which will frustrate me. Some may just some that host may like get catered meals and bartenders and things like that, where it's like it's not a party, and so it's very hard to create um, any sort of accountability group or vulnerable group or whatever when there is just this gap. Because to your question now, I just wanted to kind of state what I would be disappointed in,
Yeah,
to make that clear,
yeah.
because I don't think everybody understands. I think some people would be like, that sounds like a fun um, book club if somebody caters against bartenders or whatever. Like, that sounds like a fun book club. But I'm tired of women like creating these things to be together to supposedly offer growth in your life, and they don't offer growth. They don't offer growth because of the gap. Okay, so if it does happen that way and it's not offering growth, yes, I would be super fearful to say something. Um, and
Because of judgment, because
yeah,
of fear of judgment, because of fear of
well,
criticism,
because
because
fear of offending someone or someone
so
taking
right.
it personally. Uh,
So to
um,
talk it just about yourself is
if I
like,
said I don't want to be in a I don't want to be in a book club where everybody gets like bartenders and caters it and whatever. If I say that, then that's going to offend the person that did that.
Yeah.
Or if I say, I don't want to be in a book club where y'all don't read the book, then I sound like a Karen in the book club over
Yes.
like, somebody might come to me and be like, uh, are you serious? I don't have to read the book. I mean, I'm like, but then that's not a book club. I don't want to be a Karen about it or called a Karen
Yeah.
when it's really not.
And so pause for a second. I like what you're saying because when we talked earlier about if I showed up disheveled at church and stuff like that, my buddies might go, "Wow, you really dressed up." And it'd be in they'd be kind of ribbing me, but in a funny way and really encouraging me. And it wouldn't I most likely wouldn't take it offensive.
No,
But you women, they don't know how to rib. That's the difference. It's like I
right. I
maybe
mean,
there's this place of vulnerability is like that it's all right to have a little bit of that riveting. That's where vulnerability really
it's not even a
happens.
ribbing though, because it's not even a ribbing. It's more of a just just not taking offense to that and kind of owning it, but then also knowing that it's not like a character attack or something like it just feels like a character attack with women or something. Like if you were to show up at church, that would be probably pretty cat if you showed up to church a little too casually, like in your pajama bottoms or something, that would probably be a little more on brand for you than
Yes.
anyone else. But so the ribbing would look like something like this. Oh, yeah, well, of course, Chico decided to show up in his pajamas to church, or, "Oh, hey, buddy, could you not change for church?" or something, and there wouldn't be there probably wouldn't be an ounce of you that would be offended by that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't care. You would
No.
just be like, "Yeah, I'm at church in my pajamas, who cares?" or whatever, or, "How about your Aggies this weekend? Like, what did they do?" Or whatever. You would just respond, with a ribbing or
And
whatever,
so
and
what we talked about, that night where Kendall Jenner showed up, before all the kids showed up, we're sitting there and we're talking about this. And at first, when we talked about this vulnerability gap, and there was three other women in the room, and yourself made it four, and then Vic and I, and we are talking about that. And at first, the response was, "No, no, that's not true." And so then when we started to unpack what we believe is this
what are
vulnerability
you
gap,
saying wasn't true?
they were saying, "No, women are vulnerable."
Right.
And so
Or
they were at first.
women get to like, women they were feeling like women could get deeper faster, they could and then we started saying, "Well, do they really? Because they can talk a lot,
and
and they plan a lot of things. They
and they get
plan
a
a lot of
lot of stuff
groups."
done.
Yes.
And we use the examples like women will be vulnerable about the struggle with their kid, struggle with their husband, struggle with things like
No, they
that.
won't.
But well, I agree. They'll talk in
They're not vulnerable.
generalities.
You're a therapist, okay?
Yes, they aren't
People
vulnerable.
are vulnerable in your office because you're a therapist. They're paying you
Yes.
to listen to them talk about their struggles, but women don't share struggles with their husband or their kids or anything. When I have had struggles with you or my kids, I have never felt more alone because you can't get another woman. Now, women will rag on their husbands.
Yes.
Okay, they'll rip their husbands like, well, do y'all have trouble, getting your husbands to load the dishwasher or whatever? And I was like, yeah, and I'll rib my kids too. I mean, you know, we do that, but not vulnerable,
Not
not like,
vulnerable. No, I
yeah.
agree. And
And
so
so
all of a sudden, they women spend a lot of time
that's part of the gap.
talking, and so we were talking about the gap, and they were going, "Oh, that makes sense." And
Yeah.
so then they started to really get more curious, and this sense of competition, and how we talked about that, and how women are innately competitive with each other.
Yes.
If you
And now in therapy speak, can I bring this up?
yes,
So in therapy speak, a lot of people are seeking therapy, which is awesome. And so that's where they're vulnerable. I have I have some friends that go to therapists and they will commonly say, well, my therapist said this and that. And then they will just stick with that. They won't really tell me what they're vulnerable about. And they don't need to, they don't have to, but they would just say, but then they are regurgitating their interpretation of whatever their therapist said. Okay. And so a lot of therapy talk nowadays talks to women about protecting your peace. Okay. It's like teaching women to self care, take care of yourself, protect your peace. All of that is great. Okay. And women need to learn how to do that. But if they don't know how to do the work or be vulnerable, and there's this vulnerability gap, and they can't be vulnerable with other people outside of their therapist, then they use protecting my peace as an excuse to not be vulnerable. They'll just say, "Oh, I'm gonna protect my peace, not talk about that," um, and they jump into um, avoiding
The messy middle.
the messy middle. And so maintaining your peace 24/7 is more, it's a lie. I don't think that's what a therapist means by protecting your peace, meaning just it's emotional management. You're just controlling your situations, you're managing your situations
You're not being honest.
emotionally. You're not
You can't
being
be at
yourself.
peace.
You're just like,
Yes.
okay, that makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to protect my peace. Okay, that conversation makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to protect my peace right now. And
And that becomes what we've talked about before, a conversation stopper. I mean, there's so much
yes,
right there.
and so end up finding peace in the shutting down, not doing the work,
But I would
and
even challenge that.
controlling everything.
I would even challenge that. I'm not even sure you're truly at peace. Okay.
Well, no,
Eh,
you're
eh,
not. But what I'm saying is, when a therapist says protect your peace, that's not what they mean.
Maybe.
Because it's not peace. Well, it's not really
Exactly.
peace.
Yes,
It's like,
I agree. I think I'm in 100% agreement with
I
you.
have to figure out how to protect what it means to me now. If I'm doing the work, protecting my peace is um, being vulnerable with my boundaries, and staying up front. If I were vulnerable enough to say up front, I only want to participate in this book club if we are going to just be
Read the book and
casual,
then,
read the book, and then really discuss it in a deep way. And otherwise, I don't want to participate. That's protecting my peace, but
yeah,
that's a hard conversation to have.
with people that you have a long-term relationship with.
Yeah, I don't want to say that to anybody, and I can't say that not saying something is protecting my peace. I can't say that. Those two don't jive,
Yeah.
because that's not really peace. I still have the internal battle of wanting it to be a certain way. My expectations are a certain way. So, do you see what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying? Now I'm making
So
the
yeah,
connection that it's
the
not,
connect.
of course, it's not really protecting your peace
Yeah.
unless you are doing the work and saying the uncomfortable things in a vulnerable way that
And
then you get to the peace part.
being all right with feeling judged.
Yes.
It's interesting. One of my favorite books, and you've
Well,
heard.
it's not even about being judged. So I'm going to just correct you on that, because it's about doing the work and not worrying about what other people are thinking or feeling about your actions, um, or your boundaries or your work that you're doing, which is like codependency, you know, 101. It's not about, it's about me not even worrying if there's any judgment or not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so right there, as long as we remain afraid of each other, we'll have arms distance. We won't be vulnerable.
Right.
It's like there's my
But even if I choose to be vulnerable, I can't worry about
yes,
yeah.
and that's the key. And so track with me for a second. My what is my favorite word in the English dictionary?
Fecundity.
Fecundity. And fecundity it's from this book called Life Signs by Henry Nouwen, and it's called Intimacy, Fecundity, and Ecstasy in a Christian Perspective. I didn't know what the word meant. And what he talks about is how we're all fearful people, and he talks about, you know, fear prevents intimacy. And he goes on and explains that, but then he talks about fecundity and how fear thwarts fecundity. And what he says, two ways in which it thwarts fecundity is
Maybe you should define fecundity.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Okay, two ways in which
Gosh.
it does it is through sterility or productivity. But what he says fecundity is fruitfulness or to bring forth life. Women, God calls us to be fruitful and multiply. Y'all get the gift of giving birth. You are fruitful. You get to
I thought
see
it was
that.
a curse.
No,
It's the curse of Eve.
the curse of Eve is pain during childbirth.
Yes,
It's
I know.
not. It's not fruitfulness. It's the pain of
Yes.
childbirth.
Okay. All right.
Okay. But that fruitfulness is that he talks about it. I love what he says. He goes, a call to live a productive life does not necessarily imply a call to be fruitful. Productivity gives us certain notoriety and helps take away our fear of being useless. And I think that's women are driven with that productivity. Y'all get stuff done like no one's business you know
Yes.
but man, that's not the same as fruitfulness. Fruitfulness is to bring forth life. And I love what Nowen says. He talks about how he describes three aspects of a fruitful life: vulnerability, gratitude, and care. A fruitful life is first of all lived in vulnerability. And he goes on and says, as long as we remain afraid of each other, we arm ourselves and live defensive lives. No fruits can come forth from such lives. You know,
Yeah.
they lead to walls, arms, and to most sophisticated inventions, such as Trident missiles and cruise missiles, but they do not bear fruit. Only when we dare to lay down our protective shields and trust each other enough to confess our shared weaknesses and need can we live a fruitful life together. So only when we can do that together. And so if there's this vulnerability gap, that the three aspects of a fruitful life is that vulnerability, gratitude, and care. First, you have to have vulnerability to really experience that gratitude and care.
Yeah.
And so if
And
you're
you have to have safe people too. I mean, we're not suggesting that you go vomit vulnerability everywhere. I mean,
no,
that's not
but
the
you have to
point.
have safe people. And in order to have safe people, is like you're going to have to take some risk in being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like what you said earlier is that if I have that armed defense, already assuming that that's not protecting your peace. You can shut yourself off, or you can become a Karen,
Right.
or man, it's that place of how, as a woman, how do you step into that place instead of that vulnerability gap, but to be vulnerable and share with people that you have long relationships with, and to share yourself from here, not about what others are doing, but truly put it back on yourself.
Yeah.
That's that hard place. What do you think it is that keeps you as a woman and others as women from from beginning to do that?
Well, I think I don't know exactly. I mean, I think that there are So many opportunities for women to share about their lives. I think that's where the confusion comes in for the difference between men and women, and why people assume women are so much more vulnerable and get down to deeper conversations. I think that that's why, is because as mothers, we are primarily the ones dealing with uh, kids, friends, moms. We're in more. I mean, Bible studies are geared towards women at churches. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, there's women's groups at churches. There are, like I said, book clubs, tennis teams, golf
Yes,
teams.
there's a lot of
There's so,
positive things, but
and then with
wait,
kids.
Shannon,
Hold on,
wait, with I agree with you. There's a lot of Bible studies at churches.
you
There's a
didn't
lot of
let me answer the question.
okay, so go ahead and answer the
You're
question.
saying, what do you think? Keeps women from. And
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that um, I think there are so many opportunities um, for w- just things end up by default, I guess, being more a reflection of a woman's character. Maybe it's the curse of Eve too. I mean, it's like the whole um, how your kids behave. Nobody's like, where is that child's father? When a kid is behaving, they say, where's the mother? Where is your mom? You know? If a husband is a jackass and whatever, they're like, "How can she stay with him?"
Yeah,
It's all on her.
there's so much
If she doesn't
criticism.
wanna share, there's so much criticism coming towards the woman, you know, how ca it's like talking about just getting dressed for church. People are gonna judge the woman and not the man. They're gonna be like, "Oh, he can't put his closet together," or whatever. I mean, it's just so much criticism, and so I think it keeps women from saying
They don't want more criticism. So
of their
they're
homes. When they come
yes.
in and see a messy home, they're like, "Well, she's not a good housekeeper." I mean, they
So everything's external. What do you think it is? So I hear that about home or about kids acting up or about a jackass husband or stuff like that. There's all that criticism about showing up at church. But what do you think it is? Because women struggle with pride. What women struggle with greed. I mean, if you look at the seven deadly sins: sloth, lust, anger, envy, you know,
yeah.
pride. What keeps because I've been around a lot of men's groups where men will actually share their struggle with envy, with
Yeah.
pride, uh, with greed, with lust. I mean,
Because women aren't supposed to
have
do
struggles.
they aren't supposed to do that. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I totally see the exterior and feeling that judgment, but for you to go to your friends, have a group, and going, man, right now I'm really struggling with pride. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would
I
be
mean,
what do you think keeps you, not you in
it's shame.
particular?
I mean, this is a whole nother, podcast that we've talked a little bit about, but going back to the beginning of time. I mean, and if you do express yourself, you're either considered emotional, hysterical, angry, irrational, like, or whatever. Like, if I were to like try to, stick up for myself or whatever, I mean, you know, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, it's interesting that when you really think, if you
and then
just
when you
look at
bring
those
back, it can be
seven.
like, it's almost like past trauma too, which is trauma is now becoming this overused situation or whatever. But like, I, women downplay their gifts, because maybe people have always downplayed we've questioned our gifts. We've always questioned our gifts.
Yes, I think that's more appropriate. Is that women tend to uh, question their gifts.
Yeah.
Tend to and
And
if
if you
they
express your gifts, you're cocky
yes, and
and
so
prideful
so you kind of discount them.
and arrogant.
Yes, and so a lot of this is rooted back to if if women if women shared personal struggles, not struggles with their husband or their
Well,
house or
and
then
then quite frankly, women are fixers.
yes,
They try to fix it. And so if you share a struggle, like, gosh, I'm really not a good housekeeper. I just can't keep up with it. I'm very disorganized and I just can't do that and whatever. Well, if you are sharing that in a vulnerable fashion with another female, they are not going to just say, "Oh, I hate that you feel that way."
and
You
that
know, is it really
that you struggle,
right, is that really important though? Let's talk about, is it really at the end of the day, like, or, what do you think you can do to, um, to make that better? How can I support you in that? Like, how can I help support you in that? Instead, women say, "Oh, well, you should really get this, new, vacuum that is really, top of the line and whatever." That's not gonna help the woman that's already disorganized, or maybe that's not her giftedness. And so trying to fix it makes a woman feel like even more less than.
so
They walk away from the conversation and they're like,
can
"I
I
can't do any of that."
so can I ask this? So do women vomit a lot of helpful ideas
Yes.
when you start to open up that vulnerability gap, when you start to become vulnerable,
Yes, and I
if
think
it's like
yes,
I'm a disorganized, I'm struggling with
they start
sloth
to
and stuff like that,
vomit solutions that aren't helpful because you wouldn't
and
be in that place in the first
then
place
you
if
shut
you were,
down. So if you struggle with
it's
sloth,
like trying to tell a cheerleader to go do the, Dallas Cowboy cheerleader thunderstruck dance, and you're like, "I can't do that." And they're like, "Just do it." And then you walk away and you're like, "I'm never going to be able to do that. It's just discouraging." So they try to fix it. And then when they can't, you're even more discouraged. And then it leads to,
but I like that, and I like what while you're thinking of your thought
you know,
is so it's that natural caretaking caregiving, which is great, and we need women for that, and they're
no,
the
what I was going to
nurses.
say is that I think women immediately, when woman starts to get vulnerable and they start to share a struggle, I think it makes other women uncomfortable automatically. What do women do? What do women do when they're uncomfortable with a conversation? They
Let's
talk more. They try to fix it. They try to get around it. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to end this conversation. I'm going to have a solution for the struggle, and then conversation over, and everybody's happy."
yeah,
Well, they're not. And so I think it's women's uncomfortable when their nervous system starts to be activated in an uncomfortable way. They have to protect their peace, whether that's throwing out a solution. They certainly don't want to bring up a unifying uh, statement that would that would bridge the vulnerability gap. That would bridge, if I said, "I really struggle with keeping my house clean." And then instead, that might make the other person comfortable because it might be a struggle of theirs too, but they can't deal with the uncomfortable feelings that they're feeling from the other woman
which is
sharing the
classic
struggle.
codependency, which is
Right.
classic,
So,
you
but
know,
it would be great
caretaker.
if the caretaker, if the person that was uncomfortable with the conversation could be vulnerable and just say,
Me too.
"Oh my gosh, me too. What what can we do about it? Like, what can
That's
we."
a different form of the Me Too movement. You know, it's
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
yes. And
But
but
they
that's what ends up keeping people from being like I have
men who get in their fix. Okay, there used to be a show back in the '90s with Tim Allen, Tool Time, and fixing and
it was called
guys
home improvement.
home improvement, and
But he really was a tool man.
his show on the show was Tool Time.
Tim the tool
Yeah.
yes. He
And
really
so,
was.
but the
Yes.
show was called
Fixing
Home
guys.
Improvement.
Yeah.
And so, but let me paint you a picture. I've been in this group now for like 17, 16 years. It's a men's group in the field of addiction, and we go and do our own work. And I was going through a big business transition, like, 7, 9 years ago. And I came in and I knew some of the guys are big time codependent. And I go, I want to do group. People are going to, and when I say do some work, I was having people play out different people in this business relationship. And I came in and I said this to men that I really love and respect. I'm going to share some stuff about people y'all know in the field. And I drop the F bomb and I just go, I don't want any of y'all effing trying to fix me or tell me this or that. I want y'all to just, if I have you participate, and let me work through that. But I just really set that boundary. I don't see, and I'm not saying this in a prideful or arrogant way. I don't see women could do that without worrying about hurting someone else's feelings.
Well, and then
Does that make sense?
yes, and a woman starts to feel like they're too much. And
Wait, okay, what do you mean?
I'm gonna tell you. So I have a couple of friends that we have prayed together for many, many years. And there's nothing wrong with our relationship or anything like that. But I bring it up because we've all been busy in different ways. And I have said, and they receive it all very well, but I have said over the past couple years that I really need to communicate in person. I like that. And I guess maybe it's post COVID too. I just really need some personal, in person, connection with these friends, and they can operate because of their schedules and some of the things they can operate via text or just a phone call maybe or something like that. And I just don't feel the same personal connection um, or even calming peace through text, and they don't have a problem with it. So um, I am. What were we talking about? I seriously, I'm having a menopause moment.
That you're going to be too much, or
Oh yeah. Okay, so I have been going through menopause. I mean, I'm post menopause now, but so my hormones have been wackadoodle for the past 2 years, and I've gone through a lot with some kids and some work, business stuff, whatever. And I have wanted to get together, and we've figured out some very small times to get together in person, and I feel like I'm just like I'm struggling with because we pray for each other. That's the whole point. So we give prayer requests. And I always feel like we get to the other ones and we're like, what can we pray for you? And they're like, yeah, well, nothing really. I don't really have anything going on right now. And I'm like, how's that possible? But also I leave that um, engagement and that communication feeling like I'm just too like I
you're too
I have
much.
too many struggles. I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna hold back next time from giving them just all of this.
But you personalize
feel like
your
you're a
struggles.
burden.
You don't talk about really your kids or me or stuff like that. You actually do the work and share, hey, we all pray for this. And I'm not calling you out because each of the Enneagram numbers has their mortal sin. But the two, you're a two. Your mortal sin is, pride. 3 is, the achiever is deceit. 7, the enthusiast is
What's your point?
gluttony. but you will talk about, hey, I'm struggling with pride or whatever.
No, 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 I don't really,
Okay.
because I mean, that no. Don't quit
Yeah.
acting like you know what I talk about.
Okay.
I mean,
But
it's just
I
it's
do
more of
I
a
do
it's
like
more of a, you know, so Travis is moving back in, pray for my heart, my attitude. Whatever. But it's not pray for my pride. I mean, I don't whatever. Um
but
anyway,
I like what you're
I just
saying.
want
So
to kind of
track with
I
me.
kind of want to wrap it up
Track
on that
track
note, okay?
track with
Because
me.
it's
You're saying
yes.
women feel like they're too much. I had a woman where I was telling her to talk to other women that was in my private practice, and they I've had a couple of them. They don't want to be a burden on
Yeah,
someone
that's what I
else.
mean.
It's this sense of burden.
Yes. Yes.
It's like they're afraid that
You know,
they're going to put too much, and that their
yeah,
friends.
it's like the Saturday Night Live skit that they made, Debbie Downer.
Yes.
They don't call it like, Danny Downer.
Yeah.
It's a woman. And the skit is always like she comes into
Wah,
the
wah,
conversation.
wah.
Yeah, she comes in the conversation. She goes, "What are y'all talking about?" And they're like, "Talking about the state fair." And she's like, "Oh yeah, well somebody got killed on the Ferris wheel yesterday." Whatever. And they're like, "Wah wah wah." I mean, it's nobody wants to be Debbie Downer because usually your struggles are, you know, real and you
Yeah,
know,
and so too much or be a burden. It's like, so there's all these different things happening with this vulnerability gap that
yes,
keeps y'all stuck there.
yeah,
You know, the judgment of, this fear that you'll be criticized, this fear of people getting in there and trying to fix you, this fear of maybe overstimulation, of being too much, being a burden. It's this constant, you know, barrage
yeah.
of stuff of going, man, how can what can women do to break that gap?
Well, I think we're gonna have to talk about that at another time, maybe.
I do too. It's something to think about. And
Yes,
as
that's what I
women,
was gonna say.
you know, text us, email us, go DM or whatever that is, and and bring up what you think the solution is to
Yeah,
create a safe place for other women to hold space and close the vulnerability gap.
yeah.
All right.
I don't know that we're gonna hear from anybody, but because we haven't, but we can kind of discuss some possibilities, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
have a good day.
Okay. Yes. Thanks.